Move approval, Mayor.
I have a motion second to approve the docket. Any discussion? Those in favor vote aye electronically. Those opposed vote nay. Motion carries. We don't have any budget amendments today. We do have some items of new business that were previously circulated. Are there any motions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Ellinger and a second from Councilmember Gordon to approve the items of new business. Any discussion?
Yes, Mayor. I have a comment about item J. This is a purchase of service agreement with the Lexington County Airport for $50,000. The airport is self-sufficient, receives its funds from the FAA and other sources, but they're prohibited from using those monies to market for new carriers or in enlargement of service by a present carrier. So this money is very useful to the airport and is appreciated. And I certainly support it.
Thank you very much. Any further discussion? It appears we're ready to vote. Please vote electronically aye. If you vote to approve the new business items, vote nay if you object. Those items are approved unanimously. That brings us down to presentations, and the first item on the list is the Quarters Committee.
The Quarters Committee met in its usual session on October 16th. We usually meet on the third Tuesday of the month at 11:30 in the fifth floor conference room. The Quarters Committee is a committee of the council which was organized in 1988 to attempt to review and the various major arteries that come in and out of Lexington, like Richmond Road, Versailles Road, Newtown Pike, and so forth. Our docket this year consists of review and implementation of two grants we have, one to improve the Versailles Road, which is a transportation enhancement grant, and Design Works has been hired as a contractor to develop the plan for vegetation, fencing, stone walls, and so forth. We also have worked some with Art in Motion to place a art-type bus stop on Versailles Road. We also have a grant to do the same for Newtown Pike from Main Street to the interstate. And this will include various changes in the viewscape for that road to try and improve it. The committee is concerned about Winchester Road. We did some years ago did a quarters plan for Winchester Road to see what could be done about that road, particularly from the New Circle Road into Midland. We have not been able to implement that up to now because we have not had the funds, but it desperately needs to be improved as it's going to be one of the main corridors coming into Lexington from the interstate. We did vote to, at the meeting, to review and update the corridors plan for Nicholasville Road. This was done, I think, in 1994 last, and some of the things that were planned have been implemented, but it needs to be reviewed and studied again to see what can be done to improve Nicholasville Road. The committee also has participation from many departments of the government, such as parks, streets and roads, forestry, bicycle pedestrian, as well as some citizens in the community and other members of the council. We'll be meeting again on the third Tuesday of next month. That completes my report, unless there are questions.
Any questions for Councilmember Stevens? I see none. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councilmember Gordon, do you have the Planning Committee report?
I do. Thank you, Mayor. The Planning Committee of the Council met October the 16th, and the first item on our agenda was the Downtown Development Authority Land Bank budget amendment. In 2006, the Council approved an amendment for $150,000 to be transferred from the Division of Planning's budget to the Downtown Development Authority, and this item was tabled in June of 2007 so that the council could hear more information about this land banking issue and whether this money might be used toward that. So we heard from Harold Tate from the Downtown Development Authority, and there's, council members, you should have received a separate copy of Planning Committee minutes in which a lot of the detail of the discussion is given. And we ended the discussion with Mr. Tate. Harold Tate will be consulting with Paula King, Chris King, and David Jarvis from our government, and will bring back some final recommendations to us on the land bank issue. They'll come to us at our January meeting. And then the second issue which we discussed was tax increment financing, and there actually was a very good summary of that in today's Herald Leader, how that works. Harold Tate, again, from the Downtown Development Authority, came and talked to us about the TIF financing as a method of using a portion of taxes generated from property to pay for public infrastructure. And so the committee heard from him on that issue, and we will also hear back at our January meeting again on the tax increment financing. And then finally, Councilmember Stinnett asked that Commissioner Helm be invited to come to our Planning Committee and give a report on social services. So there are no motions to come from our meeting.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Councilmember Gordon? All right, I'm advised that our Chairman Marshall Fellows are not yet here, so I think we'll go ahead and proceed to the presentation on the Lexington Horsemen and come back in just a moment and pick up the fellows. Ms. Harris? All right, step around if you will. Councilmember Ellinger, you want to provide a little background information?
Thank you, Mayor, and I've got some information I'm passing out here that the Horsemen provided for us. But I met with them a couple weeks ago, and we discussed what was going on with the Horsemen and some of the challenges that they were facing down there and all the things that they bring to this community, because it is something that with the indoor football that we all, if you have been down there, it's a lot of fun, but it's also financially sometimes it makes it very difficult too to compete in here. And actually they are in a new league, and I think you're going to talk about that and talk about the things that actually what the Horsemen do for this community, and then also look at things that maybe we can do to kind of help out the Horsemen too, and see if there's some areas where the city can work with them. So with that, I look forward to hearing what you have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Susan Harris. I'm the Director of Business Development for the Horsemen. I'm sure you all saw recently that we have moved to an A2 league, which of course ties us into the NFL. There is Arena 1 and Arena 2. We are going to be Arena 2. We will have a natural rival with Louisville Fire, so we're very excited about a lot of the changes that are coming about for the Horsemen. It was given serious consideration, but felt that after many letters, emails, and calls to Mr. House and Mrs. House, that we needed to move to a a league that is nationally known and has some ties with ESPN to try and bring it up to a better level in Lexington. So we now have what we call our professional sports team. It will no longer be indoor football. It's now arena football. So there's going to be some changes in the rules. We will be playing off the nets now. So when the football is kicked, the receiver will actually have his back to everyone except for the nets, and he will catch the ball off the nets, and the ball then goes into play. So all the players that we've had in the past are wonderful gentlemen that have represented our organization well. However, they will have to try out for their positions again this year. We are actively recruiting nationally. We have some good names that we think we're going to be bringing in for our season. It will begin at the end of March. The reason that I'm here today is not only to announce what we've done, but I've also given you each a booklet that reviews what the Horsemen have brought to our community in the last 5 years that we have been involved in the community and in Lexington itself. We have many types of entities that benefit from the Horsemen. They get both tangible and intangible donations from us on a regular basis. We also have joined, last year we did a partnership with Partners for Youth. The reason that we did that is in the past we have had many schools who have asked us to come in and have players sign autographs or play with the children, and we felt that we could do more for the community if we would become more structured. So we joined forces with Partners for Youth, and we started out by setting up a Speakers Bureau, which goes into the school system, and the Speakers Bureau basically talks to either classes, or they do assemblies, or they do graduations. They do one-on-one counseling when a teacher or a principal requires or requests that they do so. The players have the ability to be mentors. Many of them have faced very diverse backgrounds, and so they're good role models for these children. So they are going to speak. The Speakers Bureau speaks about things such as various topics: truancy, bullying, staying in school, staying off drugs and alcohol, the importance of furthering your education. And so they have various topics that they talk about, and they have statistics that they put into those topics. And I think we all know that our graduation statistics are not where we'd like them to be, and the Horsemen are really focusing on truancy and keeping the children in school. So they go through that particular area with the Speakers Bureau. The second thing that we do is our Partners for Youth Reward Program. We branch out to all the agencies that fall under Partners for Youth. I think they currently have 35 agencies, including their grassroots program. And the way the reward program is set up is if there is a child who is having difficulty, or counselors having an issue with that child, or even if the child is having an issue at home, we can set goals for that child, and those goals are set by an adult, and you can see there's various people that are included that can refer the child to the rewards program. Then the child is required to meet certain expectations or goals. If that child meets that goals, they're rewarded with a ticket to the Horseman game. Generally, if there's other siblings in the family, they're given tickets to as also a parent. So we try to give the children something to work towards, and it's a reward in which they can actually meet the players on the field afterwards and get to know them, and we hope that this will help further what we do for the community. In the community involvement, I have listed the various associations, organizations, and nonprofit companies that we have had requests from and been able to fill in the 2006-2007 season. It spans over about an 18-month period, and there are 190 agencies, nonprofit organizations, or associations that we have given either tangible or intangible things to, such as footballs, personal appearances, tickets to the game. We have done some cash donations, and we have supported with tables, buying tables at various fundraisers. So that is, I'm not going to go into all of them, but there's plenty of them there for you to look at. One of the other things that we feel that we have done very well is we bring economic growth to Fayette County, both through our players that relocate here. We have 5 this year that are first-time homeowners. They have relocated and are committed to staying in Lexington. All of these players have second jobs, or actually first jobs. So they're all employed. Most of them work 40 hours a week for an employer in this county, and then they practice at night and play on weekends. So they have a pretty busy schedule, and in between that they do a lot of events with children. In addition to that, we do bring in our revenue from our games. That includes rooms at hotel and motels for traveling teams, their transportation, meals, entertainment, purchasing of tickets, and et cetera, and I'll let you all read that. We would like to continue in Lexington, and I think we've made that commitment by going to A2. We had the opportunity a couple of weeks ago to meet with Mayor Newberry, and we did discuss a couple of issues that we are a little concerned about. One of the issues that we're having, we have reduced our ticket sales. We first took over the Horseman tickets for $15 and $25, and we are reducing our tickets in an effort to enable more Fayette folks to come to the games. One of the barriers that we have run into, and we've been told time and time again, is we have a little issue that is our concessions. The concession rates are of concern to us. Rupp Arena feels that they are in line with what other arenas charge, and we do understand that, but this is a 23,000-seat arena. Not everyone can fill that arena. But more importantly, if we try to fill it, we're going to need to reduce the concessions and reduce the parking to help families be able to come to this game. For some of these families, it's like you taking your family to Disney World for a week. When these children get to go to a game, they get the tailgating, they get the food, they get everything that goes on. It's very fun and interactive, as well as being able to attend a game and get to meet a Horseman or a Philly. We would like to make this affordable for all people in Lexington to come, irregardless of their income level. We feel committed that we should not only be able to play for people who can afford to come, but that we should take into account people who may not have as high income as others. It's very difficult for a family of four to come. By the time they pay the parking, their tickets, and concessions, they don't have any money left to buy a hat or a T-shirt, or they can only come once a season instead of coming to 2 or 3 games. So concessions is an issue for us, and parking is an issue for us. We are just asking that you help us try to get this a little bit more in line so that the people in Lexington can all come, irregardless of their income bracket. And that's all. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Ms. Harris. We have several people have indicated a desire to ask some questions or make some comments, so we'll go through those. Councilmember Gorton.
Thank you, Mayor. Susan, it's good to see you again. And I appreciate your work with the Horsemen, and I'm really glad they're going to be around again next year. I just wanted to put kind of an exclamation point on these programs, which, as you know, we worked real hard on last year, and I think especially the mentoring program. So many times young folks look to athletes. That's the way our society is. And I know that through Champ Kelly and some of the other players, they developed a really, really good relationship with some of those young folks. And I'm glad to see that through Partners for Youth you're continuing that, because yes. In many cases, I think that that is one thing that the young people remember their whole life. And it can be the one thing that changes their whole life, is to have a mentor whom they, respect and like, and try to live up to. So I'm really pleased that Partners for Youth and the Horsemen are going to continue this relationship, because it's very good and it's very local, and I think that's one of the things that makes it so good. So
thank you, and thank you for your help. I know that you were very instrumental in getting this started last year. We hope to continue down that road. I know that when we talk about the children having the players having an impact on the children, I always think of Chad Spencer. For many of you that don't know him, he's over 6 foot tall. He goes in and does a speech on bullying, and he talks about the fact that when he was in the 4th grade, he had money or food taken away from him every day by a bully, and the children's eyes get about that big around, and at the end of the speech, he does tell them that he came back the taller of the two the next year and bigger. But at the end of the speech, he does explain to them that anyone can run into a bully, whether it's in their home, in school, in work, or wherever, and he ties his speech in the end by saying his bully was a girl. So the kids get a big kick out of that.
Well, I know one of the things I learned last year through working with you is that most of the horsemen players have local ties.
Yes, they do.
They're not
Yes.
people from other places in the country, and they all, or a great majority of them were either raised here or have lived here a long time, so they're invested in the area. They really want the area to be good, and they want the youth
Yes.
to grow up with mentors, and so I think that is also another piece of it that makes it so much better.
I agree with that.
So-
And as well as UK's doing this year, I think I see some talent there.
I think I do too. Well, thank you again for
You're
all
welcome.
your hard work.
Thank you.
Councilmember Stinnett.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for coming in the Horseman Organization, for being a part of our community. I know it's, a lot of kudos go to you and your organization. I mean, here's 4 pages of organizations, other ones outside of your own that you've touched in Lexington, and that's unbelievable. I don't think many groups in our city can say this. There's probably well over 150 organizations on here, and that's just fabulous. Let me ask you a question. You gave us a couple pieces of paper regarding barriers to doing business with Rupp Arena or at Rupp Arena. How have you approached that so far with Rupp Arena and the board?
We have actually sat down with Carl Hall and Bill Owens and had that discussion with them. They have elected to leave things as they are for the time being. Parking currently is $8 a car. Concessions is dependent, of course, on what you buy. But they feel that they're in line with other arenas. Excuse me, but I kind of get the feeling that they're comparing it to an arena of 23,000. And I think for our community, that arena is very large for a lot of the entertainment that wants to come to Lexington. And we have heard from many people that some of the barriers is the cost of the parking and the cost of the actual concessions. So we've spoken with them, then in turn we have met with the mayor and issued our, voiced our concerns with him, and we're just wanting people to start thinking about it to maybe help us, because we're hearing a lot of families say, a gentleman came in our office the other day and was asking about season tickets, and he said, well, I can do the season tickets, and then he started asking about parking costs and some other costs, and then he said, I just can't do it. He said, I may be able to bring all of us to one game, but I can't do it all season.
Do you have the demographics of the other teams within your new league and how much their concessions are, their fees and different charges? Have you all broke that down with the other teams?
Yes, we have, and we've actually shared that with Mayor Newberry. He does have that information at hand. And I think that Carl and Bill have also done some comparing with other arenas. To be quite honest about it, one of our biggest competitors, and of course we consider one of our partners, is the Legends. When they run 25-cent hot dog specials or Thirsty Thursdays, which really doesn't fall into our family, but, or, $1 for a pop, that really makes it easier for people to be able to attend the event that have more than just themselves coming. And that's what we're looking towards, is we can reduce the concessions and the parking. When you pay $10 for a ticket and you pay $8 to park, it doesn't feel like it's in line for a lot of people.
Well, it seems like you've done the ask and you've done some of the homework. I think this council, I think we have a couple representatives on the Lexington Center board. I know you've met with Mayor Newberry, but I would encourage us to continue pursuing additional help for this organization and others, because I do think this is a valuable tool. What makes Lexington special, and an opportunity for entertainment downtown, where we just read about this morning. We're trying to create more entertainment opportunities, and here's a good example of one that we could potentially run out of town. So I would encourage our council representatives on that board and the mayor to pursue other opportunities, and don't let this issue drop. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Ellinger.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Susan, for bringing this forward. As you showed in your package, you are a big service to this community. You're a big part of this community. Unlike some of the events that might come into Rupp Arena, this is something that, like the Wildcats that we feel a kinship to, or the Legends, which is one of our pro teams, that you are something that we want to follow and continue following. We look like at some point this year we might lose you all as being part of this community. So I'm glad you're staying. I'm glad you're actually moving up in level too, so that'll be exciting. I would like to make a motion that we put this issue into the Budget and Services Commission committee, because I think this is something that maybe the council can look at and see if we can work, since we do have some relationships with Rupp Arena, and see if there's anything that we can do as a council, as a government, that can work with Rupp Arena and see if there's something that we can do to try to help out this, because as you've shown that you are, besides a football team, you do a lot more for this community. You've got pages here of stuff that you've done that you show that you are an integral part of this community. So moved.
The motion is to refer to the Budget and Finance Committee.
Second.
Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. I have a second from Councilmember Crosby. Any discussion? Councilmember Beard.
My comment might help. I've been a ticket holder for some time, 2 tickets, in fact. This is a private enterprise, and I'm not sure that we can take on the supporting of a private enterprise.
Is that a
And
question?
especially when we don't have the authority, direct authority over the Rupp Arena and the Civic Center. I'm a little confused about that relationship.
Well, there always is a relationship there that we work with Rupp Arena, and I think there are some areas that we can obviously discuss with them if there's some ways that we can help out. As a couple of the issues that she raised were the concession and the parking. I think parking is one that we probably could look at. I'm not sure about the concession because I think they have contracts.
It's an ongoing contract, I believe.
Right. So, but I think parking might be an issue. I think it would be good for this governor to make sure that we can do all we can to make sure that we keep the legends around here. If there's something that we can do that we can work with Rupp Arena and come up with some solution, maybe we can't, but I think it's something that we can obviously look at and see if there's something that we could do, because we certainly don't want to lose this program because it provides more than just football. I think they've shown that they do a lot for Partners in Youth and a lot of other different areas that they provide to this community.
I'm not going to disagree with any of that. I thought maybe we might be doing that in more on a one-on-one basis as opposed to going through the formal process of Services Committee, and then what? Are we just going to come to a consensus and then go talk to them, or can we just go talk to them?
Well, we can do either way, but I think if we put it in the budget and finance, at least we're starting to look at some areas.
Budget and finance?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The question on the floor is whether to refer it to the Budget and Finance Committee. Councilmember Stevens, do you wish to speak to that issue?
No, I'll speak after this.
All right. Councilmember Gordon?
I have comments that aren't specifically on
Okay.
whether to put this in committee.
All right. Anything with regard to the motion to refer to Budget and Finance Committee? Then those in favor of referring it, please vote electronically aye. Those opposed, vote nay. Motion carries. And now we'll throw the floor back open for general discussion. Councilmember Stevens.
We'd be happy to review this in the Budget Committee. I was an original investor in the Horseman, and at that time, the deal was the same as it is now. The Rupp Arena controlled the concessions, but the rent was adjusted so that the Horseman had much lower rent that might be expected for such an event, so that was the payoff from the Rupp Arena at that time. We'll be happy to review all this again, and it is an entertaining venue. I enjoyed going to the games. Of course, as an investor, I didn't have to buy a ticket, but and I didn't have to pay for parking, and I did pay for the concessions, though, if I chose to do something. But the secret has been getting the number of people in the seats to create an adequate revenue to sustain the team, and I wish you good luck this year and hope you make it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilmember Gordon.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I also look forward to discussing this in committee. I know it's a difficult discussion. We talked last year a little bit about it, and of course, one of the difficulties is the Horsemen aren't the only venue in town which pays for concessions, and So that made it difficult. I guess my question, Susan, is whether the council could help. Are there expenses with Partners for Youth, which is not a private entity, it's a public entity? Are there any expenses there with the mentoring program or any of the things they're doing that we could help with?
Yes, there are. Actually, there are. We have private entities, and I think you all actually gave some dollars last year. We reduced the ticket price by 40%, and then we bought tickets for the children for the rewards program with private donations last year. I do want to clarify that the concessions and the parking, the reason that we're bringing this up is because we feel this is a barrier to people coming to Rupp and being able to afford to come. We're not asking for help with our expenses, but we are asking for help for the citizens' expenses. So I just want to clarify that we don't get anything off concessions or parking. So that goes all through Rupp. So we are asking for help to get other people there.
Did you already say when the season starts?
The season will actually start 2 weeks earlier. It'll start the middle of March, and it'll go through the end of August.
Okay.
So it's a little bit longer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Lane.
Thank you, Mayor. I, too, like Dr. Stevens, was one of the initial investors in the Horseman. And both Dr. Stevens and I are, the Horsemen were sold several years ago. We're not investors in the organization now, but I just wanted to say we do need the support of our council, our community behind the Horsemen, because it's very expensive to start a new franchise, and the Horsemen have been winners on top of all of that. So we need the community support, and whatever we could do as a council to help them, I think, would be justified. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Thank you very much, Ms.
Thank
Hurst.
you. I appreciate your time
Today. I think we're now ready to go back up the agenda one item and to hear from the German Marshall Fellows. And I believe Mr. Kearns, a face familiar to this chamber, is going to speak.
It's always good to be back in these hallowed halls. Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, we're certainly pleased that you've elected to have us present for today's meeting. This is the German Marshall Fellows Program. It's a program that's been underway for a number of years. It actually goes back to the Marshall Plan. Some of you, if you're my age, you may recall that plan. But it's to promote better understanding from our friends and neighbors in the European arena with the United States. This is my second year with the program. Scott Crosby has been the liaison for Lexington. Dodd Dixon has been the liaison for Winchester. But Lexington and Winchester have been one of the stops on this, regular stops on this program. And I will tell you that last year the group voted us as the top stop last year. And that included going up against Minneapolis, Seattle, Portland, Los Angeles, Pittsburgh, and Cleveland. So I think we did quite well. Our hope is that we'll do just as well this year. But what I would like to do is have each one of the individuals come up and introduce themselves, tell you what country they're from, what they represent, and what kind of work they're involved in. And hopefully they'll tell you what they like about Kentucky. But I will tell you this, and I think Scott will agree with me, that these are some of the finest individuals that I've ever had the privilege of meeting. And I feel like I truly am a better person for having been involved in this program. So with that, I'm going to put Adam Holm from Denmark on the spot and let him lead off.
Thank you very much. Didn't expect that, but being the oldest one here and the one with no hair on the head, I was probably chosen first. Thank you very much for having us. My name is Adam Holm. I'm from Copenhagen, Denmark. Some of you may be familiar with the name. Not my name, of course, but the state of Denmark. We're 5 million people in Scandinavia and Northern Europe. I work as a television anchor on national broadcast. I work for a program called Deadline, which is on every night at 10:30. We do half an hour. International and domestic politics, and I'm one of 4 hosts on the program. Besides that, I'm a trained historian. I have a PhD in history. I did a thesis on right-wing thinking. I'm a lawful citizen, married, 2 children, and I can say this is actually our second stop. We've been to Washington, D.C., which of course was interesting. This is our first stop. Tomorrow, I'll be going to Denver, but I'm just on the brink of cancelling my tour because get very disappointed. I'm certain of that, because Kentucky, we've been here for 4 days, has treated us so well. And just to go back to what Ken said before about last year's group voting Kentucky as the best state, I will go along with this, even though I have 2 or 3 more states to go. I'll be going to Denver, as I said, and I'll be going to Seattle and some place up north, can't remember what it's called, New York, I think. But Kentucky, how can I put it to you? It's been a really, really great stay. Tremendous people, really good people, friendly attitude, open towards any questions we may have had concerning basically all the issues we as Europeans would like to ask Americans about politics, gender issues, race issues, etc. And I just want to thank you very much on behalf of those citizens you represent for your friendliness and your hospitality. So it's been a great stay. And now on to my Macedonian friend.
Thank you very much for having us here today. It's always, I'm always in a great danger to perform after Adam, but nevertheless, thank you for delivering such a unique hospitality that I haven't been receptive in that way in years. I come from Macedonia, a small country in the Balkans, infamous Balkans, I can say, famous for some unfortunate events, but we still have to deliver some traditions and customs so we can enrich our world and civilization we are all living in. I work for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I'm counselor in the Public Diplomacy Department, and previously I have worked in the government of the Republic of Macedonia in the office of a Deputy Prime Minister in charge of European integration. This is also my second stop. Next stop, fortunately, I'm going with Adam in Denver, or unfortunately, and afterwards we're moving to LA and then to that place he didn't recall the name, New York, I think. I know that Lexington will be voted the best stop this year as well because of the friendliness presented of our friends Scott, Ken, of course, Rod, Dad, and you, of course, who has received us a few days ago. And I am strongly and wholeheartedly reconsidering my application to Notre Dame after visiting University of Kentucky today and Patterson School of Diplomacy. And I look forward to get back here ASAP. Thank you very much.
So, unique hospitality, thanks for it. My name is Safar Mesha. I do represent Germany in our fellow group, and my profession is that I'm manager for European Government Affairs for a big company in Germany dealing with aviation legislation. Previous to my job, I was security and foreign affairs advisor to the government of the Republic of Germany with regard to special focus on the Middle East issues, on Iran, on Iraq, on Turkey. And I would like to thank the German Marshall Fund of the United States for the unique opportunity to visit the United States. It's my first stay here, and you have a great country and a very nice city here. By having wear this T-shirt, I would like to demonstrate our appreciation and our thankness, our, how to say, I mean, thank you for everything. Thank you to Scott. Thank you to Ken. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, members of the City Council, for giving us the presentation, the occasion to present ourselves here. My name is Maurice Linnen. I am the chairman of the Christian Democratic Party in the City Council of Amsterdam. So I have some experience with City Council meetings, and I must compliment you on your flexibility. In Amsterdam, it's much more difficult to to be flexible about points on the agenda, so I would compliment you on that. Furthermore, in the Netherlands, I work as a negotiator for an association of ICT workers. The ICT sector in the Netherlands is very much booming, so this is a sector which is rapidly growing, and it makes it very interesting work. I would like to compliment you on your lovely city and on the lovely reception we have received from Dad, Scott, and all the other people who have been involved. Dad, at some point, it was Scott who said at some point during our stay, he said, well, in the end, we're very much the same. There's much things we have in common. That is very true. Nonetheless, of course, there are a few minor points we might have different points of view. In the Netherlands, we deal somewhat different with, for example, the drugs, but we're here to learn, so maybe we can persuade each other on different viewpoints. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Honorable Council and audience. My name is Anita Danka. I come from Hungary. I work as a staff attorney of the European Roma Rights Center, which is a public interest law organization working in Europe for the full realization of the human rights of Roma. Roma come from India. They came centuries ago to Europe, and they are the most marginalized groups, or they constitute the most marginalized group all over Europe, and we work for the human rights in areas such as education. In many countries you still have segregated education when it comes to Roma. We work for their equal rights to housing, access to public facilities, and so on and so forth. Even we have issues when police abuse them and they are tortured and there is no follow-up by the state, there is no investigation and so on. This is I think my third time in the US. I had the chance to study here for 8 months, but I studied in Georgia, and I will bring home the charm of the people here, the friendliness, their hospitality, and I would always brag on the fact that I won $3.8 at the Derby race. On Chief Mena, thanks Chief Mena, I lost I think $11. That I would probably not say openly. Thank you so much for having us. It has been wonderful. And I would like to give the floor to Jana. Thank you very much for having us.
Good afternoon. My name is Jana Tesařová, and I come from the Czech Republic. I don't want to repeat so much, so I will just say a few words about me. I work in an NGO which deals with environmental matters. We try to promote model projects of sustainable development, such as renewable energy, etc. I wouldn't imagine how in 3 days you can get such a crisp and fragrance of a country, so I'm really thankful to all our hosts, and I really appreciate that some members of the City Council came to meet us and talk, because I'm really interested in public administration, so I really appreciated that, exchanging very detailed information, and I'm sure I will use it at home, so thank you very much.
Mayor, members of the council, I certainly, Scott Crosby, would like to say thank you for the time that you have spent. This has been a program that we've been involved with now for 4 years. When I was a young associate working for Mayor Newberry at the law firm, he sent me over to the World Trade Center that we had in Lexington, and we would attend those meetings often together. It's just the diplomacy aspects of this, the trade aspects, the opportunity for literally the future leaders of the world to come and visit Lexington and to be a part of this community and to appreciate the real value we have for living in Lexington and in the Commonwealth is just very significant. I will share with you the trip prior to me traveling to Europe as a fellow. President Bill Clinton traveled with the fellows from the U.S. over a period of days. This is a very involved, very active organization. I encourage any individual who's under the age of 40, who has an interest in international affairs and in politics and government, to sign up and I can certainly help coordinate any of the application process. It is a pretty strenuous process, both here and abroad, particularly abroad. Again, many of these individuals represent one application per country. And so you can just imagine that process for each one of them. We are very fortunate to have them. And again, I just wanted to say thank you for the support that you have given us. To our other sponsors, Kentucky American Water has supported us, Go Kentucky, certainly the City of Winchester. There are just numbers of organizations, and I'm afraid I've probably left a few out. Thomas & King sponsored our dinner last night. But again, thank you very much. Thank you for your time, and certainly it's appreciated very much by those of us who are hosts and certainly the members of the delegation. Thank you very much.
Scott and Ken, thank you very much for your efforts in serving as more than able hosts for our group. And to all of our guests, we're delighted to have you spend some time in Lexington, and particularly we're grateful for your coming this afternoon and telling us just a little bit about your background. I hope you enjoy the rest of your visits around the country, but don't enjoy them so much but what we lose our #1 status here with you. Councilmember Gordon.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to thank all of you for taking time out of your jobs and your lives in your own countries to come over and do this. This program, programs like Sister Cities, other exchange programs, I think the biggest benefit is the people-to-people aspect. It's good to learn about jobs and countries, but the exchange between the people is what really brings it into a personal note. So I appreciate that very much. Unfortunately, I'm a bit above the 40 level, so I heard the rumor that maybe there's a program being established for the older set. So maybe some of us can look into that. And we will hope that some of our younger council members will also look into being fellows in the future. Yeah, Councilmember James would be a perfect person. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other council member have any comments? Well, thank you all very much for being with us, and do enjoy the rest of your stay. That brings us... That brings us now down to the council reports. Councilmember Blues.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a couple of announcements on Thursday of this week, Thursday, October 26th, at 5:30 p.m., the South End Park Neighborhood Association will meet at the Carver Community Center. And later that evening at 7 p.m., the Great Acres Homeowners Association will meet in the Masterson Station Clubhouse, and I hope the neighborhood will turn out for these events. Next Monday, October 29th, there will be, well, let me back up a bit. We have three town meeting or public workshop projects connected with the Don't Borrow Trouble campaign against predatory lending. And the workshop that will be in the 2nd District will take place at 6 p.m. on Monday, October 29th at the Winburn Community Action Center on Winburn Drive. As you know, this effort is one to help people to find alternatives to the kinds of financial traps that they can fall into when needing cash on short notice and feeling that there are no alternatives to going to a rent-as-you-own place or a check cashing establishment or one of those other predatory types of establishments. And so I'm hoping that members of the community can come out and explore ways of avoiding those traps and finding better ways to achieve financial stability. Thank you, Mayor. That's my report.
Councilmember Blevins.
Thank you, Mayor. Two small things. I wanted to remind the public that we're going to reconvene the Stream Construction and Restoration Task Force this Thursday, October 25th at 10 a.m. in the 5th floor conference room of the Governance Center here to review progress on our recommendations we made this past spring. So I look forward to seeing you there. And secondly, I'd like to move approval of this week's NDF. So moved.
Any discussion? Those in favor of approving the NDF, please let it be known by saying aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Councilmember James.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a motion. I move to place on the docket for November 1, and you should have a copy of this in front of you, council members. I move to place on the docket for November 1, 2007, a resolution authorizing the execution of a memorandum of agreement with the Friends of the Isaac Murphy Memorial Art Garden, Incorporated, Bluegrass Community Foundation, Incorporated, and the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet for the donation of land from the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet at East 3rd Street and Midland Place and creation of the Isaac Murphy Memorial Art Garden.
Second.
Thank
We
you.
have a motion and a second by Councilmember Lane. Any discussion? Those in favor of adding that item to the docket, please indicate by voting aye electronically. Those opposed, vote nay. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mayor. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. Councilmember McCord.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple things. One is tonight at 5 o'clock will be down at the Hyatt will be the Knight Foundation's open meeting to the public talking about the legacy project of the World Equestrian Games. Second is on November 9th, on a Friday night at Southland Christian Church, one of this community's most important nights happens, and I want to extend an invitation to every council member to the Jesus Prom. This is a prom that is put on for the physically and mentally challenged of not only our community, but surrounding communities, and folks from other states even come. Last year we had 1,600 special needs folks along with 1,000 volunteers, and you'll be getting an invitation, but to the public. November 9th, information can be found on Southland Christian's website, southlandchristian.org, or you can call their main line 224-1600. Also, I wanted to say thank you to the Parks Department, to General Services, for a number of things that are happening as it relates to trails in the 9th District. Old Higby Mill Park, South Point Park, and the Wellington Trail that goes in front of Lexington Christian Academy are all in various stages of completion. And again, that will ultimately connect up into a probably around 7 miles worth of trails, all connected on-road, off-road, and probably will be the state model over time. And lastly, I just wanted to let folks know to be very patient in the 9th and the 10th District on Clays Mill Road as we are paving some of that and improving some of that problem that we've had there. And again, there's utility movements down in the 9th District. There's resurfacing going on in Councilmember Blevins in my districts. But at the end of the day, we're going to have a much nicer road and a much nicer ride. So I appreciate everyone's patience. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Myers.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I want to say thank you to the mayor. He's coming to Mayor's Night Out. It's going to be in the 8th District at Tatesbrook Neighborhood Association on November 27th. And there's going to be some really exciting things. The Tatesbrook Neighborhood Association is very active, and they have some exciting things planned for that evening, and hope that certainly all the citizens in the 8th District come out for that, but also everybody in Lexington. And I just want to thank you, the mayor, for letting us sponsor that event. It's going to be November 27th at Tatesbrook Church. It's at the corner of Appian Way, and I'll have to get back to that. I can't think of it. And then also it's going to be from 5 to 7 p.m. And then secondly, I have a motion, and I move to place into Budget and Finance the following items: that the committee look into all financing given to partner agencies with respect to, first, the purchase service agreements; second, expectations on how the monies can be spent, drawn down, and reported on; third, a uniform process for accounting of expenditures; 4, a process for recapturing unspent expenditures; 5, and any and all other items deemed important to the committee; and then 6, the committee will report out its recommendations prior to the FY09 budget.
Second.
So moved.
I have a second by Councilmember Gordon. Any discussion? Those in favor, please vote aye electronically.
Mayor, I just wanted to request that if Mr. Myers could have his aide give us the list of things that he's got in his motion that would facilitate the Budget and Finance Committee.
That will be helpful.
We'll send an email out to everybody.
It will probably be in the summary, will it not? Too. Okay. Motion carries. Councilmember Myers, anything further? Thank you very much. Councilmember Stinnett.
Thank you, Mayor. There are so many things we could talk about today, but I'll try to limit it to just a couple. First of all, I want to give council an update on the dog task force. We had a rather lengthy meeting last Tuesday night, and a lot of work was and progress was made on recommendations. We hope to have one final meeting next week. It's on the 30th of October at 6:30 here at the Phoenix building, and we'll have one final meeting. And if I would or could, Mayor, and Artie, I know you're here, if we could get on the agenda on November 20th to make the recommendations public and to council on that day, that would be great. Next, we had a nice article on the front page of the paper, and I spoke briefly to the mayor earlier today about the TIF that was planned and proposed. And I know, Mayor, if you could give us a couple additional comments on that. I think the story was a little bit misconstrued in the fact that an arena downtown or a new arena is not this council's priority or the administration's priority. And I think that was taken out of context. I think the important thing here is, and following up with Councilmember Gordon's committee last week and the planning committee, is that the TIF is something new to Lexington. It's something that Louisville has used successfully. And I think there's many other things that go along with that TIF than a new arena. And I think that's the message that this council needs to say and should say out in through the community, that that arena was just a small piece of that TIF. And Mayor, do you want to add anything to that at all?
That's an accurate statement. The process of creating a TIF district is a long and arduous one, and all we did yesterday was get the ball rolling to create the district. Once a district is created, then there's a lot of opportunity to talk about what we want to do within the district, and that's when we'll be coming back to the council and to the public for input about how exactly to proceed. So understandably, Rupp Arena gets an awful lot of attention whenever you start doing something in that part of town, but it is by no means the only aspect of it, and it is not something that's going to happen anytime in the immediate future. This is a process that will take years to accomplish, so we'll have lots of opportunity to talk about it on down the pipe.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple other items. One, we also have been receiving a lot of phone calls today regarding the Immigration Commission and their report out. I want to make a couple things very clear to the members watching, and Mayor, if you feel free to add anything to this as well. One, we have not received the official report, nor has the Mayor received the official report. And councilors have been given a report, and that is not the official report, so I don't want anyone to misconstrue that as something that it isn't. So I don't think it's prudent for any council member or myself to comment on a newspaper article where there has been no findings of fact presented to this body, to this council. And I look forward to the report, though. I look forward to this council working together on that issue. And Mayor, I don't know if you have a time frame when we would expect to receive that. Would it be this year, this month?
I expect it most any time, but I think the commission members have been working much like the rest of the community through these issues, and they've been wrestling with them, and they have asked for some additional time to get their report together, and I'd rather have it done well than done hastily. So I have been working with them to give them the time they feel like they need. I anticipate that we'll be hearing from them fairly soon. I would hate to say a specific date, given the difficulty of the task they've been asked to undertake, but I hope certainly within the next few weeks.
Thank you, sir. And one final thing, I'd like to place into the Services Committee the intersection of Kavanaugh at Sanibel Drive, the request for a multi-way stop and a speed limit reduction. So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second by Councilmember McCord. Any discussion? Those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those nay. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Stevens.
Thank you. Several things. One, I've been working some with members of your administration, Mayor, about litter in our community, and met with Mary Wathen, who is concerned about getting our town ready for some more European visitors. And 2010 and what we can do as far as improving our situation regarding litter. And she has organized a meeting on November the 2nd. We'll be proceeding with that and seeing if we can come up with a plan that would address this issue. I would like to also refer to the Service Committee 2 items. One is Chenoweth Road from Alumni Drive down to the road off to Takes Creek High School concerning speeding on that street and what might be done to reduce that. There has been a fatality there in the last year, and some of the citizens are concerned about the continuing abuse of our speeding laws on that particular stretch of Chenoweth. The second thing is I've had requests from 4 different intersections for a 4-way stop surrounding Christ the King Church and in that neighborhood. I'd like to refer the whole conglomeration to the Service Committee to see if we can work out a traffic plan for that neighborhood, which will ensure safety for the children who are attending the 2 schools in that neighborhood and to reduce the speeding, which is the primary concern of those people living in that area. I don't know that we need 4 intersections with 4-way stops, but it might be that we can come up with some plan with the traffic engineers which would affect the results they wish without so many 4-way stops.
I have a motion and second to refer those intersections to the Services Committee.
And Chenoweth Road.
And, I'm sorry?
And speeding on Chenoweth Road.
And Chenoweth Road as well. Any discussion? Those in favor, please vote aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilmember Crosby.
Thank you, Mayor. I just would like to announce that this Wednesday, October 24th at 7 p.m., Charlesburg Neighborhood Association will be having their meeting at Crossroads Christian Church. And then on Thursday, many of us are participating in an ice cream social here in the Government Center. I know a lot of us will be serving ice cream. My shift is at 1 o'clock, so I would encourage everybody to come get a scoop of ice cream from me. I promise I am most generous with the scoops, so come visit me at 1 o'clock. Do what? Yeah, oh yeah, and proceeds benefit United Way, so thank you.
Thank you. Any further member have a report? The mayor has no report today either, so that brings us down to public comment on any issues not on the agenda. Seeing none, Councilmember Gordon.
Yes, Mayor, I move to go into closed session pursuant to KRS 61.8101C for the purpose of discussing pending litigation matters. So moved.
I have a motion and a second by Councilmember Ellinger. Any discussion? Those in favor of going into closed session, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. We'll stand in recess for a moment.